a great deal of consternation as to when the next part of Mysterious Cities of Gold is on. I'm going with 4:20, actually, Sid. I think you're wrong. Right, OK. Time now for another Jonny Briggs. Well, I knew there'd be trouble there. Do you remember a while ago we told you about the Christmas Carol competition, if you wanted to write a song and send it in? Well, if you've done one and you haven't sent it in yet, the closing date is coming up. I think it's Friday, isn't it, the closing date? But you've got to send it in quick. There's the address, A Song for Christmas, P.O. Box 86, Birmingham. So send it in as fast as you can. Now it's time for John Craven's Newsround.
Fears for the Irish coastline as a ship spills oil. Hello again. An oil slick leaking from a broken-down ship could threaten beaches and wildlife in Ireland. The ship, called the Cowloon Bridge, ran into trouble in heavy seas at the weekend. The crew were rescued safely, but the ship was left to drift. Now she has run aground and is breaking up, and oil is leaking out. The Cowloon Bridge was carrying a cargo of iron ore from Canada to Scotland. She also has nearly 2,000 tons of oil on board. The trouble began off the coast of Ireland. The ship had been sailing in a circle when the crew were airlifted away, but she drifted to the Stag's Head Rocks, where she's now breaking up. Some oil is escaping, which could reach the holiday beaches of County Cork and the local marine nature reserves. Cormorants are one of the birds most at risk from any pollution, but there are also petrels in the area. Shearwaters, which are wintering in southern Ireland, are also threatened, as well as grey seals, which are common in these waters. Large cracks were reported on the deck of the Cowloon Bridge several days ago. She pulled into Bantry Bay on the Irish coast, but the ship's master decided to put to sea again in spite of warnings of more storms and knowing that the vessel needed repairs. Now she lies on the rocks, her back broken by the rough seas. There were plans for a tug to tow her into a port, but that may no longer be possible. It's expected that emergency steps may be taken soon to prevent a pollution disaster to the coastline and its wildlife. And there's been another drama at sea today caused by bad weather. Another huge freighter called the Fiona, with a crew of 6 on board, ran into storms in the Atlantic Ocean. She's carrying a cargo of timber, which shifted in the rough seas. It meant the Fiona had to continue her journey leaning to one side. Now she's being escorted to the shelter of Stornoway in the Outer Hebrides, but an RAF helicopter is standing by in case she runs into more difficulties. One of Britain's biggest banks, Barclays, is to pull out of South Africa. The decision to stop working there comes as more and more countries all over the world try to persuade South Africa to end its harsh system of apartheid. They're the laws which keep people of different colours apart. Barclays says that the country's future is too uncertain for the bank to carry on there. Barclays has been involved in South African banking for 70 years. It's always had a reputation for treating its black workers fairly. Some politicians feel it would have been a good idea for Barclays to stay in South Africa and continue setting a good example to other firms. But the bank says it's pulling out for business reasons. It wants to use the money it has in South Africa in other parts of the world, especially America. 180 British firms do business in South Africa. Many may now think carefully about whether they should follow Barclays' example and leave. Several big American firms have stopped operating in South Africa recently, and they've all said it's because they are very much against the apartheid system. There have been lots of protests about apartheid and about Barclays' links with South Africa. Many people, especially students, refuse to put their cash in Barclays banks because of it, and the company has lost money. Today's announcement has been welcomed by those who want South Africa to get rid of apartheid. They say it's a tremendous encouragement to their campaign, but others say it could make life difficult for black workers. Japanese firefighters are using thousands of gallons of seawater today to battle against the smouldering rivers of lava still pouring down Mount Mihara after an eruption 4 days ago. Well, since then, the fiery mass of rocks and ash has been flowing steadily towards the towns on the island of Oshima. Now 60 firefighters are trying to stop that flow by swamping it with 15 tons of water pumped from the ocean. Friday's eruption, which sent jets of white-hot lava high into the air, was Mount Mihara's worst for 200 years, and it's feared the volcano could erupt again. So the 11,000 people who were taken off the island aren't sure when they'll be allowed to go back to their homes, which lie in the path of the lava. The English chess team is in first place at the World Chess Olympics, which are being played at Dubai in the Middle East. After 8 rounds of play, England had 23.5 points, a point ahead of the United States and Hungary. The biggest upset so far has been the defeat of Soviet world champion Garry Kasparov. He was beaten by an American. It's a serious setback for the Soviet team. They were tipped to win, but they're now lying in 5th place in the competition. An attempt to build the world's tallest pot is being staged by 2 potters in Devon. Kevin Weaver and Peter Rogers have been throwing this special pot for several days. They're hoping it'll eventually be around 10 feet, that's 3 meters high, to win the new record. Martin Tasker reports.
The existing world record for a pot is 8 feet and was set in America. Kevin and Peter aim to top that by 2 feet and in the process raise £10,000 towards the Cavitron appeal, which funds laser surgery in the region.
You've still got quite a long way to go there, haven't you? What do you reckon you're at now?
We're just over 6 feet, and we've got another 4 to go, which will bring us just short of the ceiling.
As you can imagine, there are complicated plans for removing and firing the pot, which will weigh in at something over £600 when it's completed. But first, though, it must be completed, and given current progress, that should be sometime towards the end of this week.
And finally tonight, news from Israel that camels may soon be fitted with light reflectors. There's been a spate of traffic accidents there at night caused by camels wandering from the desert across main roads. So safety chiefs are looking into the idea of giving them reflectors front and rear. They hope that should stop other road users from getting the hump. And that's all tonight. More news tomorrow. Until then, bye-bye.
And you saw the guy going for the largest pot in the world. Don't forget that tomorrow at 4:35 there is, in fact, Record Breakers.
In Record Breakers tomorrow, Gary Windybank is a man with a weight on his shoulders when he takes on the world hod-carrying record. And another spectacular record attempt, this time in the skies high over Illinois for the largest ever star formation of free-fall parachutists. And in the studio, an attempt on the world basketball shooting record. The heaviest, the largest and the fastest, all in Record Breakers at 4:35 tomorrow. Record Breakers!
Be good, that's. I was speaking to Mark Curry this morning and he said that in Blue Peter today you'll see he's a bit of a wimp when he tries to climb up a telegraph pole. But first of all, a bit more serious, it is Malawi.